My granddaughter married a man who insulted me, until his mom found a pair of panties in his bag-opening synopsis. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes you don't need to serve it at all. Sometimes fate handles it for you in ways more perfect than you could ever imagine. My name is Dorothy. I'm 73 years old, and I thought my granddaughter Emma's wedding would be one of the happiest days of my life. Instead, her new husband publicly humiliated me in front of the entire family, questioning my value, my contribution, my very worth. I stayed silent. I chose dignity. I held my head high and didn't cause a scene. But the next morning, his own mother found something in his luggage that exposed a secret he'd been hiding for years. A pair of women's panties that definitely didn't belong to my granddaughter. And that discovery set off a chain of events that destroyed him far more effectively than any revenge I could have planned. This is the story of how a wedding day insult became the least of one man's problems, and how sometimes the universe delivers justice in the most unexpected ways. But before we dive into this absolutely wild story, if you're enjoying this content and want to hear more real-life drama, please hit that like button right now. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these incredible stories. Seriously, your support means everything and helps us bring you more content like this. Also, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. We all know someone who's dealt with a terrible in-law or family drama. Now let's get into what happened at that wedding, and the morning after that changed everything. Part 1. The wedding day. My granddaughter Emma has been the light of my life since the day she was born 26 years ago. I was there in the delivery room when she came into this world. I was there for every birthday, every school play, every milestone. When her parents divorced when she was 8, she spent every weekend at my house. I helped raise her. She's not just my granddaughter, she's my heart. So when she got engaged to Brett Donovan 2 years ago, I was thrilled. Emma was happy, glowing, talking about her future with stars in her eyes. Brett seemed fine on the surface. Good job in finance, nice apartment, came from what appeared to be a respectable family, maybe a bit arrogant, a bit too concerned with appearances, but I chalked that up to youth and modern dating culture. Emma asked me to help plan the wedding. She wanted my input on everything. The flowers, the venue, the menu. We spent months together, picking out details, making it perfect. It was bonding time, precious time with my granddaughter before she started her new life. I also offered to contribute financially. I'm not wealthy, but I've been careful with money my whole life. My late husband left me comfortable, and I had savings specifically set aside for Emma's future. I gave Emma $15,000 toward the wedding. It wasn't everything, but it was substantial. It paid for the flowers, part of the catering, and Emma's beautiful dress. The wedding was planned for October, an outdoor ceremony at a vineyard about an hour from the city. It was going to be beautiful. Fall colors, crisp air, intimate gathering of about 80 people. The day arrived. I woke up early, got my hair done, put on the dress Emma had helped me pick out, a lovely lavender mother-of-the-bride style that made me feel elegant. I drove to the venue with my sister Margaret, both of us excited and a little emotional. The ceremony was at 4 o'clock. Emma looked absolutely stunning in her wedding dress, walking down the aisle on her father's arm. I cried, of course. How could I not? My baby girl, all grown up, starting a new chapter. Brett looked handsome in his tuxedo, smiling at Emma with what seemed like genuine love. His parents were there, Diane and Robert Donovan, both corporate types, a bit cold but polite enough. Brett's younger brother was the best man. About 40 people from Brett's side, 40 from ours. The ceremony was beautiful. They said their vows, exchanged rings, kissed while everyone cheered. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd been too harsh in my judgment of Brett. Maybe he truly loved Emma. Maybe this would be a good marriage. The reception was in a tent on the vineyard grounds. Dinner, dancing, toasts. I sat at the family table with Emma's parents, my sister, and a few close relatives. Brett's family sat at their own table nearby. Everything was going well. I'd had some wine, was feeling warm and happy, watching Emma and Brett dance their first dance as husband and wife. The DJ was good. The food was excellent. People were having fun. Then came the speeches. Emma's father went first, giving a touching speech about watching his daughter grow up, about being proud of the woman she'd become, welcoming Brett to the family. People applauded. Some cried. Then Brett's father stood up. His speech was shorter, more focused on Brett's accomplishments, his career, his bright future. Fine, whatever, different styles. Then Brett stood up. He wasn't scheduled to speak, but he grabbed the microphone from the DJ anyway. He was a few drinks in, his face flushed, his tie loosened. "I just want to say a few things," Brett began, his words slightly slurred. "First, to my beautiful wife Emma, you're gorgeous, you're smart, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world." People applauded. Emma smiled, a bit embarrassed, but pleased. "And I want to thank everyone who made this day possible," Brett continued. "My parents, who paid for most of this wedding, and who taught me the value of success and hard work." His parents beamed. I felt a small prickle of unease. Most of this wedding? My $15,000 apparently didn't count. "I want to thank Emma's parents for raising such an amazing woman," Brett went on. "And I want to acknowledge Emma's grandmother, Dorothy, who apparently thinks a few $1,000s buys her a seat at the planning table." The air sucked out of the room. People stopped talking, stopped moving. Everyone stared at Brett, then at me. My face burned. My sister Margaret grabbed my hand under the table. Brett, either not noticing the horrified silence or not caring, continued. "I mean, it's cute that you wanted to be involved, Dorothy. Really cute. But let's be honest. My parents paid for the real costs here. You paid for flowers. Flowers. That's like buying someone a housewarming gift and expecting to be consulted on the mortgage." Nervous laughter from a few people. Shocked silence from most. Emma's face was white, her mouth open. "So thank you for the flowers, Dorothy. They're very pretty, but maybe next time, let the adults handle the big decisions." Brett smiled, completely oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped, and handed the microphone back to the DJ. "Let's party." The music started up again, but nobody moved. Everyone was looking at me, waiting to see how I'd react. I felt my sister's hand tighten on mine, felt my son-in-law start to rise from his seat, probably to confront Brett. Felt Emma's eyes on me, tears streaming down her face, her special day now tainted by her new husband's cruelty. And I made a choice. I could cause a scene, could tell Brett exactly what I thought of him, could ruin the rest of the reception with family drama, could let his words ruin Emma's wedding day even more than they already had. Or I could take the high road, could show grace under fire, could refuse to let this arrogant boy reduce me to his level. I stood up slowly. The entire room watched. I picked up my purse, my wrap, and I walked over to Emma, kissed her cheek and whispered, "I love you. Be happy. This isn't your fault." Then I left, walked out of that tent, across the vineyard grounds to my car. My sister followed, catching up with me in the parking lot. "Dorothy, don't leave like this," Margaret said. "Let me say something to that little shit. Let someone put him in his place." "No," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tears running down my face. "This is Emma's day. I won't make it about me. I won't give him that power." I drove home, took off my pretty lavender dress, and cried myself to sleep. Cried for the humiliation. Cried for Emma. Cried because I'd tried so hard to make her day special, and her new husband had thrown it in my face. But I had no idea that karma was about to handle Brett Donovan in ways I could never have imagined. Part 2. The morning after I woke up Sunday morning to my phone ringing. It was 7:30 a.m., far too early for a post-wedding day call. I almost didn't answer, assuming it was someone calling to check on me after Brett's speech, wanting to offer sympathy I didn't particularly want. But something made me pick up. It was Emma, and she was crying. "Grandma," she sobbed. "Can you come over? Please, I need you." My heart stopped. "What happened? Are you hurt? Just please come. Please. I'm at Brett's parents' house. Please hurry." I threw on clothes, didn't bother with makeup, and drove the 20 minutes to the Donovan residence. It was a large house in an expensive suburb, the kind of place that screamed money and status. Emma was waiting on the front porch, still in her pajamas, her face blotchy from crying. I pulled her into my arms immediately. "What happened, sweetheart? What's wrong?" "Everything," Emma said. "Everything is wrong. Everything is ruined. I can't believe I married him. I can't believe I didn't see it." "See what?" "Emma, you're not making sense." Before she could answer, the front door opened. Diane Donovan stood there, her face a mask of fury and disgust. "You should come inside, Dorothy. Your granddaughter deserves to hear this from family, not just from me." I followed them into the house. Brett was sitting on the living room couch, his face in his hands. His father, Robert, stood by the fireplace, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. And on the coffee table, in a clear plastic bag like evidence at a crime scene, was a pair of red lace panties. I looked at Emma, confused. "I don't understand." Diane spoke. her voice tight with controlled rage. "These were in Brett's luggage. I was helping him unpack this morning because they're about to leave for their honeymoon. I found them at the bottom of his bag, wrapped in a hotel towel from the Marriott downtown. They're not mine," Emma said, her voice barely a whisper. "They're not my size. They're not my style. I've never seen them before." The room spun. Oh God. Brett had been having an affair. My granddaughter had married a cheater. "Brett," Robert said, his voice like ice. "Explain yourself. Now." Brett looked up, and I'd never seen anyone look more guilty, more cornered. "I can explain." "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Diane demanded. "Because what I think is that my son got married yesterday while actively cheating on his bride. What I think is that you had the audacity to insult Emma's grandmother at your own wedding while hiding evidence of an affair in your luggage. What I think is that you're a liar and a cheat, and I'm ashamed to call you my son." "Mom, please, answer the question," Robert cut in. "Whose underwear is that?" Brett was silent for a long moment. Then, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, "They're mine." The room went silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. "What?" Diane said finally. "They're mine," Brett repeated, louder now, his voice defensive. "I wear them. I've been wearing women's underwear for years. They're not from an affair. They're mine." Emma made a sound like she'd been punched. "You... what?" "I wear women's underwear sometimes," Brett said, his words coming faster now. "It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean anything. It's just comfortable. It's just something I do. You've been hiding this from me?" Emma's voice rose. "For 3 years. Through our entire relationship, engagement, wedding planning, everything. You've been hiding this from me? I didn't think you'd understand," Brett said miserably. "Understand?" Emma was shaking now. "You insulted my grandmother yesterday. You humiliated her in front of everyone. You made her feel small and worthless. And the whole time, you were hiding this massive secret. You were lying about who you are. And you think I wouldn't understand?" "It's not the same thing," Brett protested. "It's exactly the same thing," Emma screamed. "You're a liar. You lie about who you are. You lie about what you do. You lie about everything. And then you have the audacity to insult the one person in my life who's always been honest and real and there for me." Diane sat down heavily, her hand over her mouth. Robert turned away, staring out the window. Both of them looked like their world had just collapsed. And me? I stood there watching karma work in real time, watching Brett Donovan, who'd insulted me less than 24 hours ago, who'd minimized my contribution and mocked my involvement, get exposed for the fraud he was. "Emma," Brett tried again. "Please, I love you. This doesn't change anything between us." "It changes everything," Emma said, and her voice was suddenly calm, deadly calm. "Everything, Brett. You lied about who you are. You hid something fundamental. And worse, you treated my grandmother like garbage while pretending to be someone you're not." She turned to me. "Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry he said those things to you. I'm so sorry I didn't defend you. I'm so sorry I married someone who could be so cruel. Oh, sweetheart." I pulled her into my arms. "This isn't your fault. I want an annulment," Emma said, pulling back to look at Brett. "I'm not staying married to a liar." "Emma, wait." Brett stood up. "Let's talk about this. Let's go to counseling. Let's—" "No," Emma said firmly. "We're done. We're going to get this marriage annulled, and I never want to see you again." She looked at Brett's parents. "I'm sorry. I know this is humiliating for you too, but I can't. I just can't." Diane nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm sorry for what he said to your grandmother. I'm sorry for all of this." Emma grabbed her purse and looked at me. "Can we go? I want to leave." "Of course, darling." As we walked out, I heard Brett call after us. "What about the honeymoon? The tickets are non-refundable." Emma didn't even turn around, just kept walking to my car. Part 3. The aftermath. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic for Brett. Emma's father, a lawyer, immediately filed for annulment on grounds of fraud, Brett's concealment of a fundamental aspect of his identity. In our state, that was legitimate grounds. The marriage was annulled within 3 weeks. Brett tried to fight it, tried to say it wasn't fraud, that his personal choices about underwear didn't constitute lying about his identity, but the combination of the lying, the public humiliation he'd caused me, and Emma's absolute refusal to reconcile made the judge sympathetic to our case. Emma moved back into her apartment. She was devastated, embarrassed, but also angry. That anger fueled her through the process. Brett's family was mortified. Diane called me personally to apologize for her son's behavior, both the insult at the wedding and the lying to Emma. She didn't excuse his cross-dressing. She made it clear that wasn't the issue. The issue was the lying, the hiding, the public cruelty while privately being a fraud. He learned that behavior from his father, Diane said quietly during that phone call. The need to present a perfect image, the obsession with status and appearances. I thought we'd raised him better, but clearly we failed. The wedding vendors all heard what happened. Small community. Word spreads fast. Several of them reached out to express sympathy to Emma. The photographer refused to deliver the wedding photos to Brett, saying his behavior violated the spirit of what a wedding should be. She gave Emma all the pre-ceremony photos for free. Brett's job found out, somehow, through the grapevine of people who knew people. His reputation took a hit, not because of the cross-dressing, but because of how he'd treated Emma and me. In professional circles, character matters. Being known as the guy who insulted his new wife's grandmother at his own wedding while hiding major secrets doesn't make you look like a trustworthy colleague. He ended up leaving that job and moving to another city. Last Emma heard, he was trying to restart his life somewhere where people didn't know the story. Emma took a few months to heal. She was hurt, embarrassed, but also relieved. I didn't see it, she told me one afternoon over tea. All the signs that he was more concerned with image than reality. All the little lies. I ignored them because I wanted the fairy tale. We all want the fairy tale, I said gently. That doesn't make you naive. It makes you human. He insulted you, Emma said, tears in her eyes. At my wedding, he made you feel small. And you left with grace and dignity while he was hiding red lace panties in his luggage. The irony is almost funny. Almost, I agreed. I should have defended you, Emma said. The moment he said those things, I should have stood up and told him he was out of line. You were in shock, I said. And it was your wedding day. You don't need to apologize to me, Emma. I understand. Still, you deserved better. You deserve better. As for Brett's parents, they divorced 6 months later. Apparently, the incident opened up a lot of conversations about honesty, authenticity, and what their marriage had really been built on. Diane told Emma that finding those panties had been a catalyst for her to examine her own life, her own choices to prioritize appearance over truth. Sometimes, Diane said, the universe shakes everything up because we need to see what's really there. Part 4. 1 year later. It's been a year now since that wedding. Emma is doing wonderfully. She's dating someone new, taking it slow, being more careful about red flags. She's thriving in her career, bought a new apartment, seems genuinely happy. Brett's insult still stings sometimes. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. Being publicly humiliated at 73 years old, being told your contribution doesn't matter, being mocked in front of family, that doesn't just disappear. But here's what I learned. Revenge isn't always necessary. Sometimes people destroy themselves. Sometimes karma does the work for you. Sometimes the universe has a sense of justice that's more perfect than anything you could plan. Brett insulted me while hiding who he really was, called me irrelevant while being a fraud, minimized my contribution while lying about his own identity. And less than 12 hours later, his mother found the evidence that exposed him for exactly what he was, a liar more concerned with appearances than truth. I didn't need to get revenge. I didn't need to plot, or scheme, or plan. I just needed to walk away with dignity and let him destroy himself. And he did, spectacularly. Emma learned that sometimes the trash takes itself out, that red flags ignored don't go away, that a person who can publicly humiliate a 73-year-old woman at his own wedding is the same person who can lie about fundamental aspects of his identity to his wife. I learned that choosing grace over confrontation isn't weakness, that walking away isn't surrendering, that sometimes the best response to cruelty is to simply remove yourself and let the universe handle the rest. Would I have preferred Brett never insult me? Of course. Would I have preferred Emma never married him in the first place? Absolutely. But given that those things happened, I can't say I'm disappointed with how it turned out. Emma is free. Brett exposed himself. His family had to confront uncomfortable truths. And I got to witness karma work in ways more perfect than any revenge I could have planned. These days, when someone asks me about my granddaughter's almost wedding, I smile and tell them the story. Not with bitterness, but with a kind of wonder at how the universe works, how truth always comes out, how facades always crack, how people who build their lives on lies eventually collapse under the weight. And every time I tell it, I remember the look on Brett's face when his mother held up those red panties, the absolute terror of being exposed, of having his carefully constructed image shatter. That wasn't my doing. That was his own choices catching up with him. That was karma. That was justice. And honestly, it was more satisfying than any revenge I could have planned. Emma and I are closer than ever. We laugh about it sometimes now, in the way you can laugh about terrible things once enough time has passed. She calls Brett the panty groom, and jokes that at least she found out before having kids with him. Your wedding gift to me, she said recently, was showing me what grace under fire looks like. Brett tried to make you feel small, and you left with your head high. That taught me more about strength than any self-help book could. That's worth more than any apology Brett could give. Worth more than any vindication. Worth more than revenge. Because in the end, living well is the best revenge. And Emma and I are both living very well. Brett, last I heard, he's still trying to rebuild his reputation in a new city. Still trying to figure out who he is when he can't hide behind appearances. Still learning that the facade you build to protect yourself eventually becomes the prison you can't escape. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. But then I remember his face when he insulted me. His smirk. His arrogance. His absolute certainty that he was better than me. That my contribution didn't matter. That he could humiliate me without consequence. And I think, karma is real. Truth always wins. And sometimes you don't need to do anything except wait for liars to expose themselves. Because they always do. Eventually, they always do. The end.